Hello everyone, my name is Blaser and I am a first-year student at the University of Arizona. I grew up in Oxnard, California and moved to Tucson when I was 16. I graduated from SOAR High School in 2022 and decided to attend the U of A based on the financial aid I was offered and how close the school is to my family here. I am currently studying journalism with a minor in public relations, and I also have two jobs where I work as a shift lead at a bagel shop and a student usher at Centennial Hall. When I first began taking my gen eds, I made it a plan to explore as many different fields as possible because of my varied interests, including environmental justice, the humanities, film, and education. My interest in education roots from a childhood dream I had of one day becoming a teacher. I wanted to try and get a feel for what it would be like to work with students, which is one of the ways I got involved with Native Student Outreach, Access, and Resiliency, aka Native SOAR. When I first saw Native SOAR as one of my choices for a gen ed, I automatically added it to my possible list of classes. I maneuvered my schedule around to try and get the class to fit, and it ended up working out perfectly. I was nervous going into the class since I don't have much of a connection with Indigenous cultures. I wasn't very educated about the issues that Native American students face and was worried about not quite fitting in. Instead, I walked into a community rather than a class. All of the students were extremely open to conversation, and we all shared a motive of wanting to help Native communities. Every instructor in the class showed nothing but respect, kindness, and open arms to all students in the class, regardless of their background. The class started off with introductions from all of our instructors, both in English and in their native languages. We also had a blessing towards the beginning of the semester from a community elder, which was one of the first times I had really been welcomed not only into a new community, but into exploring new cultures. The class consisted of a few different activities throughout the week: weekly academic readings by Indigenous scholars, guest speakers, and activities related to our mentoring. The readings for our class varied from teaching us about the history of Native Americans in this country and in the higher education system, the systems of knowledge related to school in Indigenous and Latinx communities, and how building community and trust through methods such as mentoring can impact Native students. Two of the most impactful readings I did for this class were Indigenous Knowledge Realized, Understanding the Role of Service Learning at the Intersection of Being a Mentor and a College-Going American Indian by Natalie R. Youngbull, and Doing Story Work, Lessons Learned from Adopting a Storytelling Approach to Research in a Settler Colonial State by Mark Cooley. The first reading introduced me to why mentoring could have such a large impact on the students I would be working with this semester, as it went into depth about 13 college students who served as mentors and how they decided to approach the experience. The reading introduced me to tribal critical race theory and how colonization and policies in the country have directly impacted the students they would be working with. The second reading set a method of working with Native students that my mentoring group tended to work with. Our lovely group of 5 worked with 1 to 5 students a week on Zoom. We often began our sessions with a fun icebreaker to loosen everyone up and then began to speak on topics they were interested in, such as scholarships, freshman advice, community on campus, etc., by telling our own stories and then sharing resources that we had done research on. Our group began to notice that more students engaged throughout the session when we opened up more to them about our own college and life experiences. Throughout the weeks, our mentees spoke more on their concerns regarding growing up and struggles they were facing in their personal lives, similar to what is talked about in the reading. Another reading that stood out to me was Where Am I From by an Indigenous scholar named Suki. The poem goes into an Indigenous person's perspective after being asked where they are from, taking a sad tone as they are only asked this question because they look different from the Inquisitor. I really enjoyed Suki's work, who we later had the pleasure of having in our class as a guest speaker. Suki spoke about their research in Indigenous issues, especially related to gender and sexuality, and really opened up to us more about their experiences in academia. 3 lessons that I learned from this process were how to feel more comfortable talking in front of people, how to listen better, and how to speak with students to make them feel more comfortable and safe without becoming unprofessional. I was extremely nervous in the beginning that I would mess up or that our students wouldn't like me, but throughout the process I had a really encouraging team who always had my back. Overall, I had a really incredible experience with this group of students and staff. In most of my classes, I feel more restricted and I tend not to talk to as many people, but in this class, I grew to know most of the students and feel more encouraged to strike up a conversation with someone if I see them on campus. Thank you so much, Native SOAR, for the incredible experience. It's something that I truly will never forget.